Karl-Anthony Towns is one of those players that NBA fans love to hate. In recent years especially, it's become the norm to dismiss KAT's greatest strengths and best moments and magnify all of his flaws and low points. And in the beginning of KAT's debut season with the New York Knicks, I feel like that's largely remained the case. I've seen countless tweets and takes blasting KAT's defense and declaring that the sky is falling for New York accordingly, and I do want to be clear, KAT is not a good defensive center, and the Knicks are not a good defense right now, which is obviously an issue. But you know what I haven't heard nearly as many people talking about? The New York's offense has not just been elite, but a top 3 unit in basketball, several points better than the 4th best offense. So great that even with their defensive issues, the Knicks rank 7th in net rating. The expectations for this offense were high, but they've exceeded them. And the biggest reason for that has been Karl-Anthony Towns, who, on a team with Jalen Brunson, has been the Knicks' best offensive player so far and is playing as well offensively as any center not named Nikola Jokic this season. KAT is averaging 26.2 points per game, up 4.4 from last season, on 66.2% true shooting, which would be a career best. That makes him one of just 4 players averaging 25 points per game on 65% true shooting this season, along with Jokic, Anthony Davis, and Kevin Durant. Not bad company. This ability has always been within KAT. He's one of the most gifted offensive centers ever, but his offensive situation over the last 2 years in Minnesota was really rough. KAT was playing primarily at the 4 alongside Rudy Gobert on a team without many consistent volume 3-point shooters, which meant he was dealing with cramped spacing whenever he tried to attack the basket because Rudy was always parked down there, which often drove him to settle for tougher runners or turn the ball over in traffic. But in New York, playing alongside 4 skilled perimeter players, KAT has been much more effective and efficient as a driver. Last season, he averaged just under 0.94 points per drive and committed a turnover on nearly 17% of his drives. This season, he's averaging 1.26 points per drive and turning it over just 5.6% of the time. That is a massive difference. KAT is a tremendously skilled driver for his size. It's not often you see a 7-footer stop on a dime with a behind-the-back move like this, hesitate, accelerate, and finish through contact. KAT's also the king of the show and go, weaponizing the threat of his lethal jumper to pump fake and drive past other bigs, and his footwork in the lane has been impressive as he euros around the help defender here. KAT's touch has also been excellent in the lane. He's made 48% of his floaters and 57% of his hook shots, which combined account for nearly a quarter of all his shot attempts. But the biggest improvement we've seen from KAT as a driver this year is simply that he looks more under control. He's shown impressive body control on spins, a tight handle, and without another big in the paint, is not forcing the issue and making bad, chaotic decisions hardly at all. KAT's turnovers, which have always been a bugaboo of his, are down to a career low 1.8 per game compared to 2.9 last season. KAT has also become known as the king of the offensive foul in the NBA, but after leading the league in offensive fouls committed last season, he's just tied for 16th right now with 6 in 13 games. And by the way, on the flip side of that, he's been awesome finishing through fouls, ranking 3rd in the NBA in and ones converted. Don't forget, the man is 250 pounds. He can take these bumps. Am I saying that KAT has figured everything out, that he'll never again struggle to create an advantage versus a more physical defender and lower a shoulder or push off or over dribble into a turnover? No. But with the best spacing of his career, this is easily the best he's ever looked in terms of limiting the bad stuff. And that's not a coincidence. The situation is so much better. But while his improvement as a driver has really stood out, let's not bury the lead. KAT is inarguably the greatest 3-point shooting center ever, and he's currently shooting over 51% from beyond the arc. That is his most freakish ability. KAT is the best pick and pop big in basketball, which has been on full display this year as he's shot a ludicrous 10 of 16 on pick and pop threes. Now that he's playing as a center again, KAT is getting much more use as a screener and popper or roller. He's averaging the third most points per game as a roll man this season, more than doubling his production from last year, but even more impressively is scoring with 96th percentile efficiency there, averaging 1.49 points per possession. The pick and pop game is a huge part of that, but Cat's also been the beneficiary of more clean feeds as a roller, and is privileged to be playing with by far the best pick and roll operator of his career in Jalen Brunson, who's far from an elite passer, but is a significantly better one than Anthony Edwards, while also being an elite scoring threat who plays with great poise and pace out of pick and roll. Their two-man game is awesome, very complimentary. So Towns being the recipient of more of these classic center touches as a roller in the dunker spot on the offensive glass, along with his ability to attack cleaner paints when creating for himself, has him getting far more shots at the rim this year. He's up to 14th in restricted area makes per game, while he was 46th last year. He's also averaging more than twice as many dunks per game as last year. Life is just so much easier for him offensively in New York. But those dunks aren't all coming off of feeds. A lot of them come after Cat hits the aforementioned show and go, turning pops into drives and especially cooking people in transition, where he has been a problem as a trailer. Give him space and he can bang these threes easily, but close out hard or get caught flat-footed and he will dust these slow-footed bigs off the bounce. His shooting ability just makes everything go, and he has scored with 93rd percentile efficiency as a spot-up player. He is a nuclear weapon as a catch and shooter, and a hugely valuable floor spacer in this offense, opening up cleaner driving lanes for everybody around him because he has to be feared at the three-point line. But while he's never been better as a scorer, Cat's offensive impact goes beyond that. He has also been very impressive as a passer, which has always been the most underrated aspect of his game. Cat's always been a tremendously skilled passer with some standout highlights, but he has historically been inconsistent as a decision maker. And over the last 2 years playing alongside Gobert, poor spacing forced him to work in more traffic with fewer clean passing lanes. But in this much improved offensive situation, Cat has been very effective as a passer. When he draws help on a drive or a post-up now, that help defender is basically always leaving a shooter open, who Cat is more than capable of finding. He's also been extremely aware spotting cutters, and particularly, there is nothing Cat loves more than flipping a pass behind or over his head to a cutter when he gets doubled, usually on the baseline, and my god, he is good at it. Here, you see how New York spacing makes life easier on Cat as a passer. He has Lowry on him, a clear mismatch, which draws 2 additional defenders to come help from the weak side, but there are 2 good shooters on the weak side now left open, and as Jared McCain tries to recover to the perimeter with his eyes on OG, who Cat fakes the pass to, Bridges sneaks behind him for an easy cut. With more offensive skill and better spacing around him, Cat is dealing with much less congestion, and just as that's helped make him more efficient and less turnover prone as a driver, it's done the same for him as a passer, as he's forcing the issue less and making calmer, better decisions. Compared to last season, Cat's nearly halved his turnovers per game off bad passes. Luckily, that decrease hasn't come at the expense of his creativity or variety as a passer, where Cat is impressive. You see that even off offensive rebounds when the improv skills kick in. Look at him flick his wrist and fire this no-looker to OG, or manage to wrap around the triple team here to put this on a line to an open Josh Hart. But Cat doesn't just draw extra attention working down low. Watch as 2 defenders sprint out to challenge a potential pick and pop 3, which allows Cat to whip this pass to Anunoby in the dunker spot. In a 5-out offense, there are just more ways to utilize Cat as a passer, and he's been awesome facilitating offense from the top of the key. This looks like it could be a handoff, but Mikal instead curls around Cat and cuts, and this pass leads him nicely with good touch and timing to attack a wide open paint because the lone rim protector on the floor has to be guarding Cat 25 feet away from the basket. Cat has similar gravity as he facilitates this give and go with good timing and accuracy. Again, the only big is pressuring Cat several feet beyond the three-point line. So as Ivy tries to top lock Brunson to prevent him from flowing into a handoff with Cat, he easily cuts back to score in a wide open paint. Just in this game, New York was able to use Cat as a passing hub to punish Detroit for overplaying Brunson multiple times. It's tough to play aggressive ball denial 35 feet out when your big can't help because he's been pulled completely out of the paint. And there are numerous ways to weaponize Cat's shooting and passing combo. My favorite way that Minnesota was able to use Cat and Gobert as complementary players offensively was by running 4-5 pick and roll, with Cat as the ball handler and Rudy as the screener. This was extremely effective. And here we see New York using Cat as a pick and roll ball handler and OG as a screener. Harris doesn't want to give Cat any airspace as a shooter, so the defense switches this just a second late, allowing OG to slip the screen, and Cat floats this pass to him nicely for an easy score. Sometimes Cat's spacing impact as a passer is as simple as him throwing an entry pass to allow OG to comfortably attack a mismatch one-on-one, knowing that Duren is occupied with the big man outside. It's not always flashy, but when you have a center who can pull the opposing team's best rim protector all the way out to the three-point line, taking them out of the picture and freeing up the paint, who can also effectively facilitate from the top of the key, that adds an extremely valuable dimension to an offense. All around, this is the smartest, most efficient, most productive, best Karl-Anthony Towns we've ever seen offensively, who has made this Knicks offense great. With him on the floor, New York has an incredible 126 offensive rating. And that is their superpower. They are suddenly up there for the most potent offense in the league. That is what Cat gives you. Their defense has to improve. Specifically, Mikal Bridges has to be much better on that end because he has the ability. He's been their biggest disappointment defensively, and the return of Mitchell Robinson for 20 plus minutes per game will help a lot. And I do think they'll end up as a capable defense. But the Knicks were never going to have answers defensively for the Celtics, not with last year's roster or this year's. Brunson is a liability. Randall or Cat would be a liability against the offense that is most effective at hunting opposing teams' weak points in basketball. The Celtics are just a juggernaut. But the offensive punch New York can throw now is as deadly as any in the league, and that's why I view them as a top 3 team in the East. Cat is a flawed player, but I strongly believe he is a significantly better and less flawed player than Julius Randle, who makes the Knicks a better team. And to me, that means they won the trade. Whatever New York expected of Cat offensively, he's exceeded, and I do think this defense will get better. But this offense isn't going anywhere, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a great time watching one of the best offensive talents in the sport unleashed for what will be the best Knicks team in a long time.